let's just start with a reaction. So you see last week the NCAA Board of Governors endorse name, image, and likeness. Your reaction is?
I'm hyped. I think that, college athletes have had a long-standing track record of influence and have had the ability to monetize their name, image, and likeness, but the NCAA has stopped them, and I think these kids deserve a chance to do so. So I'm extremely excited about it.
So for those that don't know, obviously you're a co-founder in a sports representation group, but you have a background in marketing as well. So yeah. I would really want to tap into some of the potential there for college athletes on a local and a national level. And we'll get to that in a second, but do you know, and the answer could be no to this, and that's fine. Do you know what, if any, relationship agents might be able to have with college athletes as it pertains to name, image, and likeness?
So it's still unclear. There's still a long road to go between all of this gets implemented. But my initial belief and inclination is that anybody who's a certified contract advisor, such as myself, would not be able to work with a student athlete. But those that are, quote unquote, marketing agents who do not have certification, do not represent players on the contract side of things, should be able to work with players. So, for example, my brother, Gary, should be able to work with college athletes on this type of thing.
So I guess I'm just wondering, like, how the chain of connectivity would go. So a marketer theoretically could contact a student athlete and say, "Let me represent you to get you clients," or I represent X business and they're interested. Like, how would that work?
I think both. Just like any other influencer work, it's a situation where certain individuals will have influence within their region. I do think that there will be a small percentage of individuals that will be able to capitalize on a national scale and do national deals, but I think the vast majority of college athletes, of student athletes, are going to do their damage on the regional level and local level. And so I think something that will be very common is a fellow student who's an upstart and has aspirations and is a hustler as a marketer that is already going door to door and trying to sell something to local businesses, is going to pivot to a relationship with a more prominent athlete and try to help them navigate with their additional business savvy, the ropes. And so I think that is a natural pivot. And then you'll have outsiders, marketing firms and marketers that'll come in and try to cherry pick the top talent. And then, like you said, the other piece of it is any marketing agency, local, regional marketing agency that represents a restaurant, any sort of chain of any sort, them coming and reaching out to the athletes via Instagram DM or something like that, I think is going to be common as well.
Right. AJ Vaynerchuk's with us, co-founder of Vayner Sports. One more piece, though, about the possibility of sports agents being able to work with student athletes. What would be the difference, AJ? Just educate me here on something like an agent being able to advise a student athlete like we see commonly in baseball, or even in this period in the draft, if an athlete declares but then elects to go back to school, they can be advised by an agent. What's the difference in that and what we're talking about here potentially with name, image, and likeness?
My belief is not much, and it's a little bit baffling that agents are allowed to advise players in certain sports and not others. I'm hopeful that eventually we'll get to a place where those walls are torn down, but to answer your question, I don't see the difference, but the NCAA sure does.
Okay. So do you feel, last thing on this and we'll move on, do you feel like there might be a collective push within your industry to move toward an explanation to the NCAA to say, hey, we do see the parallels here, to maybe tear down those walls as you said it?
Yeah, I could see that. I think it'll be step by step. Personally, while I'm flabbergasted by it and don't really see the reasoning, I also am in a situation where I think that, my ecosystem will still be able to help athletes. Like I said, if I'm not allowed, I believe that my brother Gary will, and, we have resources and plenty of people that work for us that can kind of dive into this. So in a way, I guess if they keep it as is, it's a bit of a competitive advantage for us.
Sure.
And so I guess I'm okay with it personally. But yeah, I could see agents being frustrated with it. If these agents are being trusted to help these kids make these massive decisions in January, why can't they help them sort through some marketing items a few months earlier?
Man, I think we're heading toward all of it. I mean, it feels like it might be a slow climb, but we're getting there. So you touched on something earlier that I really want to tap into your experience on the marketing side as well. You said a very few percentage of college athletes would be able to attract national marketing deals. Can you elaborate a little bit on how difficult or how rare that might be? Because I think sometimes, especially when you talk to a heavy college football audience, which in the Gulf South we are, that may be lost on a national scale.
Well, shoot, I think if we're going to stick to football, just look at how few NFL players have national deals, right? And so I think it's just an aspect of national brands want to work with the biggest and the brightest, and by definition, the biggest and the brightest have to be a small percentage of the overall ecosystem. So, guys like Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields and Jamar Chase, I think they have a pretty good shot at national type deals, but those are going to be few and far between. And maybe basketball will be a little bit stronger. Obviously, if you go back when Zion first walked on with Duke, he would have had no problem on something nationally. But again, I think, and honestly, I think that's okay, and that's how it should be. What has me excited is the situation where, Ryan Dario, right, when he was playing baseball at LSU and baseball mattering at LSU, for him to be able to make an extra $1,000, $2,000 a month, or the lacrosse player at Fairleigh Dickinson, or the women's volleyball player at Oregon, like there's a whole world where all these people that, and Ryan was a bad example because he went on and made plenty of money and had a successful MLB career, but there's a huge contingent of individuals that have a lot of influence while they're at school, and their future pro prospects are not very lucrative financially. And so the fact that they've not been able to monetize is honestly really unfortunate. And I'm just glad that the next version of those people will be given the fair opportunity to make some dollars while they have the opportunity to do so.
A couple more minutes here with AJ Vaynerchuk, co-founder of Vayner Sports. He's on Twitter, Instagram, all social media. You'll find him at AJV, 3 letters, at AJV. So to piggyback that point, AJ, that's where influencer marketing comes in, right? So I don't know that you can talk about specific athletes, but I threw out an example last week of Jamar Chase, who's got 250,000 followers on Instagram. What would a guy with 250,000 followers on Instagram be worth as an influencer in social media marketing?
So I think it's less to do with the number of followers and more to do with the cultural impact in that region. So, for example, just the reality of it is that I think that locally a LSU football player is, let's just take somebody who has the same amount of followers, plays the same amount of position, is hypothetically just as good as Jamar, but they're at USC, right, in Cali.
Okay.
The USC version of Jamar is going to struggle to do as well financially because the LA market is flooded with the Dodgers and the Lakers and the Clippers. Like there's just more there. And so I think the schools that have a little bit more of the market share and the attention share and the loyalty and the passion, that same individual is going to do better, right? And so, for example, I know like in Madison, Wisconsin football players, when they go pro, they do really well back in Madison and things like that. So I think it's a little bit more about the passion around the program. And so, but I mean, a good marketing agent with somebody like that, I think 6 figures is relatively easy during the season for that.
Wow. It's incredible to think, and it's exciting too for guys like that to be able to capitalize. All right, last thing, the naysayers will say, well, you're going to have dirty boosters get to these kids and offer them, $500,000 to do a air quotes car deal. Like, how do you protect against that?
I would tell that person that they probably should open up their eyes and realize that the booster's going to get there one way or the other. It's already happening. So I don't understand. I'm okay. And I mean, honestly, it's a free market. And I think this whole illusion of student athlete is, especially for the instance of somebody, if somebody is worth if a booster wants to allocate that type of dollars to an individual to promote their business, then that person deserves it. It's a free market, in my opinion. I think this notion that that's dirty money, I've always struggled with because I've always had a problem with athletes not being able to be making money while they play. The same version of a 5-star recruit that is a singer can attend a school while making money putting out albums on Spotify and touring, locally or nationally. And it's just, I don't know. I never understood why athletes were put into this role where it was wrong for them to make money based on their prowess. Because when they go pro, that's what happens.
Well, it looks like we're getting closer to that reality becoming our reality, which is it's exciting, I know, for everybody involved. AJ Vaynerchuk, follow him on all social media platforms at AJVs, co-founder of Vayner Sports. Hey, man, we always appreciate a couple of minutes. Thanks for jumping aboard.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, as always. Take
care.
Man.